Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing Episode 32, The Ninja Poké Showdown. On their way to Fuchsia Gym, the gang gets lost in the forest as they usually do, and they decide to take a break, with Brock brushing Vulpix. Since they're by a waterfall, Misty decides to let out her Psyduck, so that he can have a walk by it. Psyduck immediately takes a sip of the water, leading Misty to comment on how dumb it was, stating that it would only make Psyduck's permanent headache a lot worse, adding that Psyduck gave her a headache with its stupidity. This leads Misty to then question Brock if she can have his Vulpix instead, with Brock declining, stating he loved its hair too much. Brock has a hair fetish confirmed and is attracted to Pokemon? Oh my god. The gang then decide to get back on their feet, recalling their Pokemon into their Pokeballs, as Misty disappointedly recalls Psyduck, sad that she can't have Vulpix instead. A Pokemon known as Venonat spies on them in the distance. This Venonat continues to spy on them as the gang continues their journey, having to cross a bridge and almost falling off in the process, but they eventually arrive at a mansion. Now seemingly being more lost, they decide to ask for directions, with the Venonat following them in as they enter the mansion. When they do, though, Misty leans on a door and falls through it into another room. Much to Ash's shock, who calls over Brock, who was still looking for people to ask directions to come and help him find Misty. Brock then pushes on the wall, revealing its true nature as the secret door, as they step through it, finding Misty in no time flat. Wow, that was very anticlimactic. It's not like that door was the sole mystery of this episode, though. No, we still have the Venonat to deal with, who shows up inside the room and runs off, prompting Ash and his friends to run after it after Ash looks it up in the Pokedex. While running through the building, though, Ash stumbles upon some bad luck of his own. Misty wasn't the only one to do so, as he steps on a Voltorb, which shocks him, prompting him to use his Pokedex on it, and he also runs into an invisible wall as he runs up some stairs. Man, that's some bad luck, bro. To make matters worse for Ash, as soon as he recovers from the first wall, he immediately runs into a second one. This leads Brock to comment on, since there were so many traps in here, there must be someone laying them, and he begins to get scared that they may be out to steal his Pokemon, such as being people like Team Rocket that would steal his Vulpix, and he begins to cry, not wanting that to happen. Ash and the gang then begin looking for the potential culprit, with Ash looking out a window, which then collapses when he leans on it, as he almost falls out. Brock and Misty thinks he falls to his death, but since this is a kid's show, he manages to survive, just barely grabbing on before he fell. Brock and Misty pull him up, and they go back inside the mansion, as they spot Venonat yet again. He would likely lead them to whoever the culprit was. Venonat does just that, as when Ash emerges in another room, he is immediately pinned to the wall by several throwing stars, much to Brock and Misty's shock, who follow him in shortly after. The culprit then reveals herself as a girl named Aya, who is a ninja in training. Misty and Ash instantly realize that she must be the one responsible for laying all the traps, and yell at her for doing so, claiming how dangerous they were. This just causes Aya to laugh, as she states how stupid they were for following Venonat in the first place when they didn't trust it. Also stating that the traps were necessary, since being a ninja in training, you had to be ready for anything, so that included potential death. Misty then tries to get Brock to back her up to see if Brock can talk some sense into her, but that's an obviously stupid move, as Brock just starts simping for the girl, as he does for all beautiful girls. Aya instantly responds by kicking Brock over, obviously not wanting to date someone like him, especially if she thought he was stupid, and challenges Ash to a battle, threatening to only let them leave the mansion if he can win. Ash accepts the challenge, wanting to finally get out of this godforsaken place, and sends out his Bulbasaur, and has it use Tackle immediately, but the Venonat dodges the Tackle and uses Stun Spore, with Bulbasaur able to deflect it by blowing it away, and use Vine Whip. Venonat is able to dodge the Vine Whip with its ninja-like skills, though, and uses Psybeam, which confuses Bulbasaur, but thankfully, he's able to shake it off very fast. I wish he could do that in the games, instead of having to have it for like fucking 5 turns. But then Bulbasaur is able to use its third attack, Leech Seed, and it actually successfully hits, and drains Venonat of its energy, knocking it out and winning the battle. Aya then recalls Venonat back into its Pokeball, as a Voltorb appears out of nowhere, and explodes, ruining the battle as smoke envelops the entire area. In typical ninja fashion, someone comes out from hiding in the smoke, being the second ninja in this training place, being the Fuchsia City gym leader, Koga. Aya bows in respect to Koga, not just being his student, but also his sister. So she is essentially the Janine of the Pokemon anime. Hearing that Koga was Aya's brother, Brock immediately tries to impress Koga and try and explain himself so that he can get on Koga's good side, so that he can date Aya. But for one, Aya doesn't want to date him and he just refuses to accept that. And two, I don't think Koga gives a single fuck who Aya would date, as Koga immediately disregards Aya's respectful bow, stating how weak she was that she managed to lose to Ash. Misty thankfully stops Brock from embarrassing himself any further by hitting him with a mallet that she somehow got. Maybe she got it from the foreman in the last episode, who knows. But then, Ash decides to challenge Koga, wanting to earn his 6th gym badge. Ecstatic that this detour that they made to the mansion actually resulted in them finding the gym after all. Koga then accepts the challenge, showing Ash the badge he can earn, being the Soul Badge. Meanwhile, Team Rocket are spying on the mansion, aware of the fact that it was the Fuchsia Gym, and were planning to steal all of Koga's poison-type Pokemon, stating that they would be perfect for a team as evil as Team Rocket. Jesse then throws a rose at James in excitement to go steal some Pokemon, and the rose accidentally prickles him. This causes him to complain as they enter the building, ready to put their plan into action. Meanwhile, the battle has now begun between Ash and Koga, with Ash sending out his Pidgeotto and Koga sending out his Venonat of his own, which immediately evolves into Venomoth after being sent out. Bro didn't even need to battle at all. Why didn't it just start out as a Venomoth? Ash looks up Venomoth on the Pokedex, scared of what new moves it could have that Venonat doesn't, but ironically, Venomoth just uses Stun Spore just like Aya's Venonat, but it is stronger, as it's able to completely counter Pidgeotto's Whirlwind and not get blown away. So the Stun Spore, combined with a Sleep Powder, is enough to both paralyze and put Pidgeotto to sleep, prompting Ash to send out his second Pokemon, being Charmander, who at least is able to deflect the coming Stun Spore with a Flamethrower. How does this work though? Like, does he burn the Spore? Like, what's going on? Ash celebrates that he's finally getting the upper hand, but then Team Rocket show up, ruining the episode as usual. This time, wearing these weird kabuki costumes. Now, I don't know what the reasoning for this was. Like, last episode, when they were wearing costumes, it was because of Arbok and Weezing, right? But now they're just wearing these costumes for no reason. Anyways, Meowth demands Koga that he hand over his poisonous Pokemon, with Ash just telling him to shut the fuck up and quit being annoying. And I agree, especially this time. Like, we're in the middle of a gym battle. It's way more interesting than Team Rocket shenanigans. Regardless of everyone's hatred of them, Team Rocket try and do their motto anyway, this time in the kabuki style, but eventually give up when the costume's way too much that they can barely even do any movements. So they just send out Arbok and Weezing and begin to battle Ash and the gang, as Ash sends out his Charmander, and Koga and Aya sending out their Venonat and Venomoth. Much to their shock, though, James has a secret weapon up his sleeve, being Sticky Thread, and sprays it all over the three Pokemon, making them unable to move during battle. He also does this to Pikachu as well, so he can't pull any of his usual Thunderbolt shenanigans. Now, I think this is a big cop-out. I mean, what does Sticky Thread have to do with this episode, bro? Why does he just have it out of nowhere? With the three strongest trainers unable to battle against Team Rocket, this leaves Misty to step up, originally going to go send out her Staryu or Starmie, but Psyduck decides to hop out on its own will and tries to battle. Misty is obviously annoyed at this, despising Psyduck, and would really just prefer him to get the fuck back into his Pokeball, but Psyduck absolutely refuses, begging Misty to give it a command. This leads Misty to angrily ask Ash what type of move Psyduck learned, so that she can give him a command and at least keep him busy so he won't keep bugging her. The first move that the Pokedex lists is none other than Tail Whip, and surprise surprise, Tail Whip does absolutely no damage, as it isn't even an attacking move, Misty. You're a gym leader, you should know this. Ash then looks in the Pokedex again, and discovers Scratch as another common Psyduck move, but really, what's a single Scratch gonna do to an Arbok, right? With both of Psyduck's moves failing, Arbok manages to get the upper hand on it without even using a move, and simply by just biting its head, which causes Psyduck's chronic headache to somehow get even fucking worse, rendering it essentially useless in battle. Once Koga realizes that they're basically fucked because everyone's Pokemon is down, aside from Brock's, who just didn't battle for some reason, he then pulls a cord, and in Deus Ex Machina faction, a trap unleashes on Team Rocket, being a whole bunch of Voltorb as they fall from the ceiling. James and Jesse immediately try and use their sticky web to capture all the Voltorb, thinking that they were just Pokeballs. But then, James realizes the truth, and they explode, using self-destruct. This was only the first part of Koga's plan, though, as now that the smoke has appeared, they have the opportunity to escape to another room. So that's what they all do, escaping to a room that had a slant on it. Brock questions why the room was slanted, with Koga confirming that that was the next part of his plan, being to throw off Team Rocket if they showed up, by having a room with different physics. Ash then attempts to get the sticky shit off of his Pokemon so that they're able to battle again, but he's unable to do so, unfortunately, and Team Rocket quickly recover from the explosion, showing up in the new room. Unfortunately for Koga, his plan of throwing Team Rocket off with other physics doesn't really work, as Meowth just gets the idea to use the slanted floor to roll one of the Voltorb towards them at like a bowling ball at full speed, causing the Voltorb to explode in panic, thereby essentially creating the same scene that Koga managed to create, but now in Team Rocket's favor, as they were the ones who had the upper hand in the chaos. Ash tries to fight Team Rocket in the chaos, but his Pokemon are still tied up, so he can't do anything. Psyduck starts running around in the chaos, as there's no one to protect him, and he ends up running into Meowth, which pisses Meowth off, who knocks him over. Misty tries to recall Psyduck back into its Pokeball so it doesn't get hurt anymore, but Psyduck declines, still wanting to battle, being pissed off by both its headache and Meowth's treatment of it. This leads Misty to go from being angry at Psyduck to not returning, to actually respecting it a little bit for its immense dedication. Psyduck then channels its anger in order to use its head to do a whole bunch of psychic attacks despite being a water type. The first of these attacks is Disable, which manages to freeze Team Rocket, as the Pokedex explains it's able to do. Psyduck then follows up with a Confusion, which lifts Team Rocket in the air and sends them blasting off, finally ending their annoyance for this episode. Let's fucking go. The energy from Psyduck's psychic powers is also able to remove all of the webbing from Ash, Koga, and Aya's Pokemon, much to everyone's happiness. And this is the final straw that motivates Koga and Aya to ask Misty to trade her Psyduck to them in exchange for either their Venomoth or Venonat. Now, for one, that just screams that they don't love their Pokemon. They're willing to trade them away just because Psyduck is so powerful. And two, you're Poison-type gym leaders. What are you going to do with a Psyduck? Thankfully, though, Misty declines, now having affection for Psyduck due to it saving her, and saying that she would never trade it. Ash is happy that Misty and Psyduck have finally seen eye to eye, but Koga and Aya don't give up, then offering Misty a soul badge in exchange for Psyduck, which causes Ash to remember that their gym battle was cut off, and Ash demands that that soul badge should be saved for him and him only. So, Ash and Koga go outside and resume their battle, with Koga sending out his Golbat and Ash sending out his Charmander. Golbat goes for wing attack as its first attack, with Charmander using Ember all around it so that the wing can't make contact. Knowing physical attacks wouldn't do anything, Koga then goes for a Screech in order to confuse Charmander, which it does, as Charmander goes for Flamethrower, but hits Brock instead of Golbat. Golbat then eventually gets hit though, getting chipped in the wing, rendering it unable to attack. This leaves it open as Charmander goes for a Fire Spin, much to Koga's shock, and Golbat is basically fucked up after this, rendering it unable to battle, and therefore giving Ash the win. That's right, he actually got another badge, free of any pity or nothing, just a genuine win. Let's go, Ash, great job, buddy. He celebrates as he holds the soul badge in his hand, with Koga thanking Ash and the gang for not only saving their dojo for Team Rocket, but for an awesome battle.
The episode then ends with Ash and the gang continuing on their journey, and Misty wondering why Psyduck has these psychic powers that it does. I mean, once again, it's a water type. What's the cause here?